Welcome everybody, this is General SharePoint Development Special Interest Group, so the bi-weekly sync, and in this call we talk about everything else but SharePoint Framework, even though we do touch SharePoint Framework in this call as well. But basically, SharePoint Framework has its own bi-weekly call, and this is the everything else like CSOM provisioning, solution designs, and all of that stuff, site designs, which we're going to talk today as well. It is December 12th, Christmas is coming, or holiday break is coming for those countries which are having that. So in today, we're going to have a quick recap on the open source project, so the PnP CSOM Core extension, so what's happening there, PnP PowerShell, modernization tooling, so quick recap on those, and then we have two wonderful ladies doing live demos today. And we'll start with Julie. She's going to talk about the Microsoft 365 learning pathways and what does it actually, the latest designs and implementations on that one. It is actually a really cool solution which anybody can take advantage of driving adoption of Microsoft 365 inside of your company. And it's a free solution provided by Microsoft and partially even open source. And we're going to talk about all of that in her section. And then Melissa is joining us, and Melissa is then doing her updates on the site design. So Melissa not only owns the hub sites, she also owns site designs, out-of-the-box designs functionality. So making sure that you get recap on what was discussed in Ignite around these topics. Now, let's actually get moving. A few updates and typical slides as they recap on basic things. Please, if you are interested on gaining some visibility or helping the community, there are multiple ways of actually doing that. So you can actually sign up for a volunteering for a demo. We will schedule then, we'll give you 10 to 15 minutes in one of the community calls, and you can do a live demo of your solution, a sample solution design, or whatever is what you want to actually show. This is not intended to be promoting your product. So this is mainly for if you're demonstrating a pattern or a solution design, architectural design. From that perspective, those are absolutely welcome. Or if it's a sample in a GitHub or open source stuff, that's absolutely welcome as well. You can contribute on a GitHub. We have a lot of stuff available over there. And please keep on providing feedback. Providing feedback using multiple channels, using user voice, using even the chat window in this community call. That's a great way of actually letting somebody know what do you think about what we're releasing. Don't complain by yourself at your home or your office. Please let Microsoft know so we're able to address these things which are bothering you. So super important thing. Now, 4 different kind of assets, just to remind us again: SharePoint Dev Docs, AKMS, MS, SP Docs, SharePoint Dev Videos. We have now more than 13,000 subscribers on here. AKMS, SP Dev Videos, SharePoint Dev Issues. So if you're running into development issues, please let us know, so we're able to address those as fast as possible. And then our open source assets are in a github.com/SharePoint or github.com/PnP. There's multiple reasons why there's multiple different organizations. For example, the PnP organization does have things which are not just about SharePoint, so we're positioning that more as a generic solution model. Now, a few updates from the Microsoft side of the house, just making sure that everybody are aware of these things. AKMS SPFX training was updated yesterday, actually, if I'm not mistaken, or the day before. So the latest SharePoint Framework training package was updated, and this is a location where you can access all of those modules. It is 9 modules which are available for you to take advantage. It's videos, presentations, demos, hands-on labs. So you can easily use those any way you want for your self-learning or re-delivering that training to anybody else. Now, AKMS Sharing is Caring, really nice initiative by David, and David is leading this, who was helping with the first setup as well, but basically helping you to understand how to contribute. So it is there to help you to have a guidance community call, kind of a specific monthly call where you will learn how to get started on consuming and also contributing on the GitHub and open source initiatives, because quite a lot of people are giving us the feedback that I would love to contribute, but I don't know how. And that's what this initiative is helping for. A few recaps on the other slides, which we actually went through also in the monthly community call on Tuesday. This is really cool. We're promoting this one, I think, in social media starting from tomorrow. Building modern shared experiences with SharePoint Framework web parts. mainly by Frank Cornu. It is already available. It is actually, AKMS and PnP Modern Search, and you're able to build a kind of a similar kind of experiences as what we had in the classic SharePoint using these open source web parts. Now, out of the box, there will be a similar kind of web parts sooner or later or at some point, but they're not yet available. So you can take advantage of the open source web parts which are provided for you. It's really, really cool stuff. And a reminder also on our feedback. So AKMS community call survey, please give us feedback on what are the community calls which you find valuable. Are we having too many community calls? Should we reduce the community calls? Are the community calls valuable? If you would like to see certain specific things, please let us know. Last time when we did this kind of a survey that are we doing too many community calls, the answer was no, this is all good. So let's keep on doing weekly calls and a once a month call on top of that, which is fine. We can absolutely make that happen, but we really want to make sure that we don't overwhelm you as providing you also too much material. So the right balance is good to be found. But it's good to see that even in this call, we're hitting it. Quite a lot of people are joining, even though we're getting closer and closer to the holiday season as well. But AKMS community call survey is the location to fill things up. Now, PnP CSOM Core, quick updates from here. I think Bert is on the call to do a quick summary on what's happening in this side, right, Bert?
Yes, absolutely. It'll be a quick one. It's not so much happening.
Upcoming version is, by the way, not December. Next one is January.
Yeah. For some reason, I had to rush my slides. I don't know how that happened, but
I don't know. Who sent you a request like 20 minutes before the session?
Right. No, this is just a recap of December. December is out, as Vesa mentioned. But December had two new things. It has Teams kind of extension method. Essentially, if your site is group connected, you can check whether it has a Teams connected to it, yes or no. And an updated site exists method that's more flexible. It will tell you like the site is being recycled, and it kind of gives a bit more detail, whereas the old one was yes or no, essentially. And the old method is now retired. Still there, but eventually we'll take it away. So if you're using that one, please move to the site exists method. What's coming up for the core library? We have seen several issues with the wait for provisioning is complete method. So that's something that we introduced like more or less 2 months ago. And that method actually waited after you created a modern site, which really goes quick, matter of seconds. But then lots of things still happening at the back end in the server. And that method was there to actually wait until all these things were done. For some reason, was not super reliable. Hence, searching things, and we found a way to kind of make it more reliable, and that's being implemented in the upcoming January version. Sorry. And then the other bigger work item is multilingual pages. We are getting close to shipping multilingual to a targeted release, and that's starting normally early next year. And so we need to be ready. I want to be ready for that. I think that's it, Vesa.
Let's actually move forward. Irvin is also on the call, so let's actually move to the PnP PowerShell side of the house and a quick update on this side.
Yeah. So the thing that Bert just mentioned, the site creation part, that it was actually affected by that time out issue, and in November or maybe the month before, I don't recall anymore. Actually, we changed the behavior of the new PnP site commandlet to actually wait for the site to be fully ready, and that was actually affecting us because it would basically never return anymore. And now we flipped it back again. So now it will not wait anymore. So if you create a new site, you will get back like within a few seconds. The prompts will come back in PowerShell. You can obviously still wait for it, but you will have to add the -wait parameter on the commandlet. And when the moment we fix things in core, then it should work again normally. There's a couple of commandlets added, actually mainly by Bert. The convert to client-side page and part has been added by him, and the Teams team has also been added by Bert. And because of the number of PRs is growing and growing, and I'm basically not very much in time. I have a lot. Well, I'm actually pretty busy. I just started a new job. we're actually using Koen Zomers from Microsoft. He will help me validating and testing the PRs. So he will go through. So if you see any comments from Koen, then you know who that is. He's actually helping me now handling the PRs on the PowerShell repo. That's it for me.
And obviously there might be additional people in the future as well, because we don't want the PnP or any of these open source projects to be dependent on individuals. It's more and more people who can help each other, which will then reduce the overall load and make sure that we're able to keep up with the submissions. But anyway, one step at a time on that journey. Let's jump back on the bird. So quick update on the modernization tooling before we let Julie to actually jump in and do the live demos. This one you promoted earlier last week, or was it last week? This week?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, just before the European SharePoint conference, but I want to kind of repeat it again. So what this is actually guidance, end-to-end modernization guidance and scripts that fully transform your team sites into modern sites, including teamifying the site. So it does groupify, teamify, modernize pages, cleaner branding. There's sample code in there which shows you how to install additional customizations, like a SharePoint framework-based web part, for example, or other things. So it's really like a one-stop script that you can start from to actually modernize your team sites. And it's not just a script. There's like a whole deck around it, a delivery guide, a deck, and also now actually even the docs.microsoft.com pages. So both are there. And title mentions partner guidance, which we already changed by now, but the slide is still showing partner guidance. But this is not just about partners. This is about anyone, any customer, any consultant, anyone working with SharePoint can use this. So don't be scared by the word partner in there. There is like a partner, kind of a sales deck, a sales pitch that if you're a partner, definitely feel free to use the material, but essentially it's just kind of available for everyone. All right, the usual modernization tooling update. So transformation framework is the one that's doing the page transformation. For the recap for December, the key thing is delve block page modernization. Just to be very clear, delve blocks will go away. Delve itself not. There is some confusion, and I've got some kind of questions from folks. It's just about delve blocks that is going away. You should have like a message center post in your tenant. I think it was posted on December 4th with some details. But page transformation offers you a way to actually take those delve block pages and modernize them, create regular modern pages in the communication site, and then you can just continue working from there. What's coming next in the page transformation world? I think there's already did some SharePoint 2010 web part handling improvements. So there were some things not going very well, especially with the V3 web parts in SharePoint 2010. So it's all about very basic CSOM APIs that you have to complement with web service calls, etc. And the other one is around taxonomy mapping. So it's one of the last pieces. I'm using a term set in on-prem. I move my page to online with the metadata of the page. It would be pretty cool if that page could kind of also connect to the online term that's there, or have like a mapping like this on-prem term will be this term in online. So that's something that we'll hopefully get in for the next one. But if not, it will be then, it's definitely coming. From the scanner side, again, the 2.7 was released like just before SharePoint, European SharePoint conference, so it's like about 2 weeks ago. Key thing is delve block scanning. So if you want to understand if there are delve blocks in your tenant, just run the scan. Take the block report. There's a really fast report. So even if your environment is large, it should run quite quickly. And it will give you like a very simple report showing all the blocks and including the delve blocks. And then you can use that information to plan potential migration. But besides that, I think the main thing there is like, tell us what you still need. Meaning, I don't have like a big list of things to do for the scanner. But if you have certain things, happy to have a talk and understand your scenarios.
Yeah, the delve block thing is really good example of hey, actually, absolutely, we can use the modernization tooling for creating that, and that was implemented relatively fast because the technology is there. It's just a matter of then implementing that on the existing framework to enable customers to move away. So really cool stuff. Yep. Good. So let's actually go to the demo section. And like I said, we'll start with Julie. Julie is a consultant from Sympraxis Consulting and calling from a hotel where we hope that the bandwidth is sufficient. So let's see how this goes. And then we'll move to Melissa after that. Julie, can you hear us?
All right, I'm going to try sharing my PowerPoint and we'll see how that goes. Thank you for having me. So my name is Julie Turner and I'm here to talk about Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways, the general availability release. So it went general availability at Ignite this year. And so I just want to recap and sort of level set for anybody who hasn't heard about Learning Pathways, what it is, and a little bit about how it works, and then I'll do a demo of all the new and exciting features. So Learning Pathways, which originally was known as Custom Learning for Office 365, is this customizable on-demand training solution that helps you with increasing usage and adoption of all the various services in your organization. So it helps by delivering training. And so overall, what it provides is this access to this end user training content, which includes video-based training and scenarios and articles, all put together in various playlists to address particular topics. So it's pretty easy to install because we are deployed via the SharePoint provisioning service. And so within minutes, without doing any coding, you can provision an entire communication site in your tenant with the Learning Pathways web parts installed for you. And the content is provided by, we'll call it a content delivery network, or a light content delivery network that actually leverages GitHub pages, so that that content gets updated quarterly by Microsoft so that the changes come to you automatically without you having to do anything. And in addition, you are able to customize that content, so you can hide and show various technologies depending on how you're adopting Office 365 in your environment, and then create your own training playlist based on your own content. So you can build your own pages in SharePoint and then combine those pages together into customized training content. And so then for version 3, or the general availability release, we have some new features. For the admin, we're now supporting multiple content packs. So Microsoft provides a Learning Pathways content pack, sort of, we'll call that out of the box. But in addition, you'll be able to add content packs from other third-party training providers, or even create your own content packs if you feel pretty comfortable with JSON and putting playlists together. You'd be able to create your own content packs if you want to. We also added the feature to copy playlists. So one of the most requested features we had was people saying, well, Microsoft has this particular playlist and I like everything about it except for one of the assets I don't want to have shown in our environment. And so now you have the ability to go in and pick a playlist from Microsoft, or even one of your custom ones, and copy it, which makes a custom playlist that is an exact replica of Microsoft's playlist, and then you can customize it as you like. We've also added some updates to the user experience for adding assets to custom playlists to make that experience a little bit better. For the users, we've really improved the user experience for playlist navigation. So we had a lot of feedback that it was a little bit confusing to navigate around the various assets of a playlist, and so we've improved that user experience. We've also added a full screen mode so that a playlist that is in a particular section on a page can be expanded to take over the full screen, so that gives a better user experience for viewing the actual playlist content. And we've improved the responsive design of the web part itself so that it behaves a little bit better in the various sections on your page. So I wanted to just, again, I've shown this before, but I want to review the architecture of how Learning Pathways work. In your tenant, you would have deployed the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways solution, which is a SharePoint framework solution that contains 2 web parts, and it is provisioned into your tenant app catalog. Then you would have the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways site, which is in general a modern communication site. And in that site, the admin web part will be automatically added to a single app part page so that you can administer your learning environment. And then the viewer web part, which is available through the web part selector when you're creating pages, and that viewer web part can be added to any page in that learning pathway site, or you can enable the learning pathway solution into other sites, either team sites or communication sites in your tenant, and thereby add the viewer web part to view training content in any of the sites in your tenant. Now, how this works is that the viewer then iframes in content from support.office.com or docs.microsoft.com, depending on what assets are recognized as part of a particular playlist. So some of the content as part of a playlist is from support.office.com and some is from docs.microsoft.com. And what I'm speaking of is the content that's delivered from Microsoft specifically. And how we go about that is by having a GitHub repository that uses GitHub pages, and there's 3 JSON files in that GitHub pages library in a particular, I just see an update that needs to happen. This says V2, but we're now at V3. So there's a V3 folder. It has these files in it, plus some images. And that the Learning Pathways web part knows how to read those manifests and then serve up the content from support or docs. So what then happens is if the content is updated in the GitHub repository, within 24 hours, the Learning Pathways web part will recognize that there's a change and will update the content appropriately. Okay, so customizations is another thing that you can do. So from the admin web part, there are 3 lists that are in that same Learning Pathways site, and a custom config site, a custom playlist site, and a custom asset site. And basically those lists will just hold items that have bits of JSON data stored in them that help define custom playlists or point to custom assets, which would be SharePoint pages in your site, and then pulls them together and caches sort of a manifest of all the content that you have and what you've hidden and what you've shown and any custom subcategories you've created. So those customizations are stored in that manner. Okay, so let's do a demo. And again, I have recorded this as a video, so so that I wouldn't have had any problems this time, so hopefully. So let's start by just discussing the provisioning service. So the provisioning.sharepointpnp.com site is where you would go, and you go under View the Designs, and then under Solutions, and then to the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathway site. And so here's a lot of descriptions about what's part of this provisioning, and so it will tell you all the content that's included, and also then give you resources that you can click on to read to see what the prerequisites are and where the documentation is, and all the information you need to know about provisioning it. And then when you're ready, you click Add to your tenant, and it will bring you to a page where you can specify, who you are, what you want, where you want the site provisioned into your tenant, and then you just click on Provision, and it will go out and provision that site collection for you. Now, if you already have Learning Pathways and you're just trying to update to the most recent version, you would go to our GitHub site, which is PnP custom-learning-office-365, and you scroll down here to current release version. It'll tell you what version. For version 3, there was some upgrade information that you needed to be aware of, but then there's complete documentation about how you download the Learning Pathways package and then how you update it into your tenant step by step. So let me show you a little bit how that's done. So you go into the web part folder, and then you would pick the SPPKG file, which is there at the bottom, and you would download it. And then once you have it downloaded, you go to your tenant app catalog in your SharePoint site. So if you click over here, then you would be in the Apps for SharePoint section, and you'd click on the Upload button, and it will then ask you for the path to your SPPKG file. You pick it from whatever folder you have downloaded into, and then say OK, and it will update into your tenant. Okay, so after it does that, you come into your Learning Pathway site, go to the site contents, And if you had already had it in there, you will see it, and you go to the details section, and then you want to just say get it to get to the most recent version. That step is actually optional, but I think it's a good practice, so I always try to update. And then as soon as it's updated, that will turn from being sort of that grayed out looking line to full blue. And now you have the updated version of the Learning Pathways web parts in your site collection. So now if we just go into site pages and then down to the custom learning admin page, by landing on custom learning admin one time, you're making sure that you're forcing a refresh of the content. So that's a good practice when you do an upgrade of the web part to come to the admin page, because every time you land on the admin page, it refreshes your content. So now let me go over and show all the updates to the user experience. So we can see that we had a massive content update with icons that were updated and lots of new content that was added. Things like stream and sway were asked to be added. And we also added an admin success center, which has playlists that link to content about Learning Pathways itself. So this is for the Learning Pathways admin to help them get up to speed with the content. So that's what that looks like. And we can see in here that for a playlist, we've updated this user experience. So now to get to different steps in the playlist, we can use that combo box, and this is the new full page experience. So as you scroll through the pages, you can see we've taken over the whole page. So it gives a better experience, and you'll see that later, that it's especially good when you have multiple versions of the web part. So we still have the copy a link, so you can copy a link to a particular playlist, and if you want to, you can also search for particular content. So if I type Excel in here and hit enter, it shows me all the content that's related to Excel, either as a technology or it has Excel in the title or the description. And so we can link to those custom pieces of content. So now let's just do a little demo of create a new page. So I'm adding a page. And so this page, we're going to start with a blank page and give it a name. And the goal here is to sort of demo how you can add multiple versions of the Learning Pathways web part to a page to create a very curated learning experience for your users. So I'm just going to give it a nice, and if that's happened to anybody else, you got to click the button. It kills me. That's terrible. It should just be clickable, but at any rate. All right, so we clicked on that, and so we have a nice header, and it's all pretty, and recenter that a little bit, and yeah. Why did I take so long to do this? Must cut video. Okay, so now we're going to go in here and add a section. So if I go and create a 2-column section, now we can add the Learning Pathways web part in here, and then we go into the web part properties, and you can see the select learning source. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, but for now, let's just go in and specify that we want to filter this web part to a particular subcategory, and in this case, we're going to pick Outlook. And then we're also going to set this to the content only, which takes away the breadcrumb navigation and the search and the link thing. And then we can give it a special title. So we can title this anything we want. I, very blandly named it Outlook, but the point is that you can, curate what you want that web part title to be. And you can see that the web part is, and I keep doing that as well, is nicely responsive in that section. So it really is playing a lot nicer with each of the section sizes that we have now, which was definitely an improvement for V3. So I'm going to link this one to OneDrive particularly, and so you can kind of see how you can put other web parts as well as the Learning Pathways web parts together to sort of create this curated experience. And here in this last section, I'm going to actually link directly to a playlist. So I'm going to add the web part here again. And this time, instead of linking to a category, I'm going to actually link to a playlist. So I'm going to go to content only mode again, and now I'm going to go to a particular playlist. We'll do create office files. And you can select a particular asset, so you can actually move it ahead to a particular point in the playlist, but if you leave it blank, it'll start at the first asset in the playlist. So then I give it a custom name, and now I have sort of a playlist plus other content right here in this one page. So now you will also be able to see that because we have that full screen button, we can actually come down to the playlist and go into full screen mode if we want to, right from this page. So that gives a better experience. We used to redirect back to a viewer page, and I think that wasn't as good of experience as we could have had. So we've reworked it so that it works this way, and I think it's a much better experience. Okay, so now let's come back over to the admin center and go through some new features here. So we've sort of redirected this. We've got a question mark thing there that takes you to the docs for learning pathways to help you get to that information more quickly. And we've sort of jiggered some stuff here. We have some new features in the, removed some stuff in the playlist content. So now we have title and description are required and categories required, but technologies and let me just get down there. Level and audience now are optional instead. So you can tie this playlist to a particular technology, or you can just leave it blank. So then we have level and audience that can be set. And as soon as you save this, then you can go add assets. And so this is the new, let me show you this new search and select experience. So if I type in Excel, we now have a better experience here where I can multi-select content. And if I click on the title, it will actually open that playlist into or asset into a new page. So you can actually preview the asset so you know which one is which. And then for adding custom assets, we've really streamlined this. So all you do is add a title. Optionally, you can add a technology, and then there is the ability to create an asset page. And what that just does is create a page in the SharePoint library with the title as its name. And so if you click that button, it goes out and does that for you, and then comes back and shows you the URL to your page. And you have a button there that I quickly went by that you can open the page so you can go edit it. And you note here the copy playlist is there. So that's that new copy playlist feature. So you can also then now navigate to technologies here from this drop-down menu instead to hide and show playlist or technologies if you want to do that. Okay, so this is the custom content pack. So let me show you how I built one of these. So if you go down to the Learning Pathways admin stuff and into the early adopter program and then into partner integration models, and you scroll down in here, there's a very detailed description of what each one of those JSON files are and how they're structured. So we have pretty good, decent, I think, documentation on what needs to be in them and then how you need to host them. And so what I did was created a quick demo. So in my GitHub repo, I created an open source demo here of what that might look like. And so in here, I have the docs folder and then a v3 folder, and I've created an assets.json, a metadata.json, and a playlist.json file with some images that I'm using. And if you go into the settings of a particular GitHub repo and you scroll down, you can see that there's a setup section for GitHub pages. And so I've set that so that the source is the master branch docs folder, and then it tells you what the URL is to your GitHub pages site. And so I copy that, and now I come in and I say I want to add a custom content pack, and I paste that URL in here and then give it a display name. So I'll just call this Julie's content pack, and we save that. And now Learning Pathways has two sets of content that it can manage. And so if I go back over to my demos web part section here and I edit my page, I can change, well, I had to refresh the page first. let me say that. And then I can edit that web part, and we'll change this Outlook one so that it's pointing at the other source. So now I can have 2 web parts on the page pointing to each of the content packs if I want to. And I'll just specifically say, okay, I'll filter to this piece of content that I put in here. I'm giving it a title, but when you're filtering to a category, that doesn't actually make as much sense. So it doesn't look so good because it's duplicated. But the bigger point here is that I now have content from 2 different content packs loading in this one page. Now, obviously, you wouldn't have to use it that way, but that ability is there for you. And so now you can see that we have, all these different various pieces of content all on one page, which is pretty cool and pretty powerful. So let me just go back over to the admin page quickly here and just show that now that I have that in here, I can edit any of the custom content packs. I can edit the URLs, and I can delete them out if I want to at any time, or add additional ones. So that's part of all that. And by just clicking on each of these, I can go back and forth and manage the content separately. So, all right, let's see. Page down. Okay, and so just wanted to share some quick links to get to the provisioning site, provisioning.sharepointpnp.com. The documentation is docs pages for custom learning, or you can type in learning pathways in the search and it'll take you there. Also, the support center is the GitHub repo pnp/custom-learning-office-365. So, Vesa, I'm all set.
That's it. Yep, yeah, excellent. There was one quick question before we go, and we can move into Melissa. I saw you joining as well. Thank you, Melissa, for joining. So we can actually move on your computer. But as we're doing that, quick question. There was a question related, is this available in the government tenants? And I don't see any reason why it would not be able to be installed in government.
You would maybe have to do, I think you would have to do the custom. So if you go to the GitHub repo, there's actually instructions to deploy the SharePoint framework solution and create the communication site manually. And it uses some PowerShell to do that. You would definitely probably have to do that. But other than that, as long as, what I want to just say I'm not 100% sure of is, I think GCC High does not support SharePoint framework solutions. And I don't know that for a fact, but I think I've heard that from several people. So, but I think regular GCC or whatever they call it does support. And so you should be able to deploy that, no problem. But I would definitely be interested in hearing if somebody has feedback and whether it's worked or not.
I have a question. This is actually really cool. I'm actually trying to set it up now for a customer to show them, and they have an app catalog, but it's not allowing me to provision, saying that I don't have an app catalog configured.
If you have problems with provisioning, the right course of action is to submit an issue to SP DevDocs.
Okay.
I do know that if you also, there is a problem if you are a customer with vanity URLs, or the customer has vanity URLs, there are some problems with that. You won't be able to use the provisioning service to provision into a tenant with vanity URLs.
Which is Office 365 dedicated, which is like 30 tenants in the world. But now, from a timing perspective, I do apologize if there's anything. Let's actually get them in a chat, because Melissa, you are in the call, right?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. We're slightly less timed than we were set that we would give you, like 20 minutes. And I know that you're slightly sick, but can you do 50 minutes?
Yeah. I can definitely cover 15 minutes, and then I can follow up in email or chat or do something in the new year.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, and sorry for my coarse voice. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So for those of you who had joined a couple weeks back, thank you for joining today. I know a couple weeks back we had this in the agenda, and then I went full on hubs and ran out of time for covering this. So today will be these 15 minutes kind of dedicated to the latest on site scripts and site designs. And I'll show you some of the cool stuff that we announced at Ignite, and show you a little bit more around what we're thinking of, what's top of mind with where we're headed next, which I know is a burning question for some of you. But just to level set, because I'm assuming most people on this call know what site scripts and site designs are, but just in case you're not familiar, It's our solution for applying consistent site configurations across any number of sites. You can think about them as our new version of site templates, and it kind of breaks up into two major components. The first one is the site script, which is, you can literally think about it as a script that defines a set of actions that will apply on your site. And multiple site scripts can basically be put into a site design, which is what, end users see, what's actually the parent folder that actually gets applied on the site. And as I mentioned, you can have multiple site scripts within one site design. Today, we support site designs, applying site designs in our site provisioning experience. So, and I'll show that in a moment, as well as when you join a hub, you can set up a site design so that it applies automatically. But a very cool feature that differentiates site designs from from our past templating solutions, this ability that you can apply it on existing sites. So that's what site scripts and site designs are really quickly, like less than a minute. Here's what a site script looks like for those of you that are just kind of new to this space. Like I mentioned, it's pretty much script, and we support a myriad of actions. And the goal is to keep this list growing as much as possible. So here's the list of all the site script actions we support. In blue are some of the new ones with newer capabilities that we are adding and will be adding. But rather than me talk about it, I thought I'd show you how it works in action, and actually show you some of the new stuff that we showcased at Ignite. So here I am. This is the winter campaign planning. You can see it's got all those winter shots. And I'm going to be joining this to the Sales Hub. Now, the Sales Hub that I've set up, I'm part of the sales organization, and I want to make this more broad consumption with the rest of my sales organization. And so just like I would join any other hub, I'll go here to Global Sales, pick that out and click Save. And it's relatively that easy to join your site to a hub. And what's going to happen is, as part of hub joining, you're going to get the nav, you're going to get the theming, but you can see right here that you're also getting that site design. And that's because we've attached the site design to the hub. And it's going to do a couple of things. So while that loads, the cool thing about this, and just because we only have 15 minutes, I'm going to fast forward here to a site that it already has it. So things that we're excited to announce is, if you go over here to documents, we now support, one of the asks we had gotten from some customers was that we support adding a set of files. And so these folders and files actually were added as part of the site design to this library. So if you have, a set of templates or a set of consistent set of files you want every single site to have, you can now use site designs to do that. And as you can see, this documents library came with some schema, this retail category, which got added as part of the site script. And you can not only add that, but you can also set up a default. So all these files automatically have this default set to them as well. So that makes it pretty cool. In addition to supporting just files and a folder structure too. So it's not just adding files, but you can also support folders. We've created these folders for the user to have a starting point. So I think, again, giving you that ability to provide more schema and more usefulness to your users. We also support file templates. And so in this case, when I've ran this site design, I've set up these two documents as a template. So when I click on new, it's automatically selected for me as well. So again, just really helping you configure your document library. So if you want all document libraries to have the new menu with these two templates and these set of folders and these files, going forward, every single time that a site gets created, you can set it up so that it does just that. Now, a question that I got was, how does this work? And I'll show you in a minute, because we're introducing this notion of what we call site script packages. And so behind the scenes, if I look up, here's this actually breaks up into, you have the site script, which we call the manifest JSON file that contains your actions. If I scroll down here, you'll see all the good stuff. And then you have the files that I just showed you, and you have the files in that folder, and then you basically zip it up. And we are introducing in PowerShell the add SPO site script package action. And just like you add SPO site script without files, you now use this action and upload the zip, and that zip would go into our site script storage on the fun site. And for those of you who know how that works, and that's how we do it. So very simple. If you're familiar with uploading today your own site scripts, just a minor set of differences to support files. But it is a packaging mechanism. It is uploading the packages with the files in them. One of the things we are working on is what this allows you to do is to take these packages and apply them across different tenants, across different clients. If that's something that you want to do. But we understand that there's an ask as well of, we don't want to pack, like maybe you want to have all your set of files in a public site and just copy them over or reference them. And so we are also starting to work now on the affordance of having it be by ref. So that's another of the cool things that are coming down the pipeline. But yeah, so file and folder support is the thing that the kind of newest announcement that we're most excited about. If you saw from Ignite the new formatter views that were shared, here's a look at what that looks like. We're excited to make sure that it works with site designs and with site scripts. So when you extract a site script from this list or from this site, which is another of the improvements that we announced, that one was at SBCNA, it comes with it too. So if you go here to format current view, this entire schema was brought in from the site script applying on this site from joining the hub. So just like that, you can again have that consistency across your hub or across your tenant if you want to set this as a site script for your as a default for your entire experience. So let me see where this is at. So you see, oh, it finished, yay! Just like that, it applied, and you can see in documents. Ta-da! You can see it's real. All those documents that I just mentioned. And if I switch over to case studies, you can see these. It not only created this library, but it also added these files. And like I was showing before, if I go over here to the tiles view, it'll show that that custom view. So you saw it actually happen live. So I'm not tricking you. So yeah. So that's one of the improvements that we're definitely driving. Another thing is we continue to add I know you probably have noticed that we continue to add new branding capabilities. And so just letting you guys know that that's one of the things we're going to keep working on. So every single time we add something for branding, we're going to make sure that it's supported by site designs. The one that we just did was labels. So if in navigation for communication sites, if you have just a label in your navigation, a head, or you can also call it like a heading that doesn't have a link, we'll support that. And you saw that extended footer that we showed at Ignite. We're also working on supporting configuring that extended footer as well. So there you see, pretty quickly, I'm gonna go click on view updated site. And just like that, you see the header, the guidelines, added all these links were automatically added via the site design, the theming, and if I go down below here to the footer as well. So really quickly, ways to see how you can use site designs, whether it's for schema on your site with libraries and lists, or for branding capabilities. And then the other thing that we actually showed at Ignite, but it took us a little bit longer than expected to ship, but we're excited to be shipping very soon, is if you, obviously, for creating these, it could be relatively painful. So if you create a site that you feel is a great, this is the site, I want most of this content to be the thing that ends up in my site script, you will be able to, you will be able to use this action, get SPO site script from web. and provided a web URL to that site. And you can set parameters to say, I want to include branding, regional settings, the site external sharing, the different lists, and list out the different lists you want into an output file. And what that'll give you is the ability to extract the site script without having to basically write the site script yourself. So we just started, I believe we're now 100% in targeted release with this capability. I'll be updating the documentation next week. So with instructions of how to use this, but that'll make your lives a lot easier. It will not work with the add file, add folder. So once you extract the schema, you'll have to, go here and here's how the add file, add folder kind of works. And once we ship the add file, add folder, which is the support for content and folders, I'll make sure we document all this so it's very clear and give you a more detailed demo. But it'll be fairly easy to go in and add the pointers to the files and the destination that you want. So that way, we'll get you 85% there, and then you'll have to do this other part. And here's, for example, how you set the set document templates as well. So, yeah. So I know we're running short on time. So just calling out, adding the ability to add folder, add file. We're working on supporting ref to set document templates at the document library. We're also adding support for set site logo from file. We already support set site logo on communication sites by ref. We're adding labels to add Navilink, and there's a few new things coming for branding that we're going to continue to support there. I want to we released this earlier this year, but I had a couple of customers who weren't aware, so just bringing awareness that we do have the action to activate SP feature. So if there's a feature specific that you want us to, that you want to turn on for your site automatically, you can use that. There's a couple of features we're going to promote and have their own setting. So that's another area you'll see us growing over the next few months. In terms of roadmap, so like I mentioned, releasing now, we have the ability to extract a site to a site script like I was showing. We have support for labels and navigation that's rolling out. And, one of the questions I got is, hey, it's been pretty quiet on the site script and site designs front. And that's totally valid. It's true. One of the reasons is because we've been doing architecture work to improve our validation and perf. As hopefully you saw the branding one pretty much ran pretty fast, and the other one was faster as well. We're trying to make this more streamlined and really hunkering down on how we can make these run as fast as possible. And so those kind of projects always take us longer than we would like, but that's something that we're doing. And we hope to, the perf improvements are already visible. The validation is going to be, we just started rolling one flight on for the validation, for improving validation, and we have more coming down the pipeline. Early next year, the folder and file content that I showed, and also support for file content by ref. We are working to integrate with Teams templates so that then they can speak to each other. So more on that in the near future. And like I mentioned, there's always going to be additional script actions that we add. In particular, like I mentioned, branding, the ability to activate specific new features. Now, top of mind. One of the biggest top of mind for us is support for Power Apps and Flow and lists and libraries, the ability to export, import that. So as part of this experience, it includes any Power Apps or any Flow or, I know they changed the name. I should be using the new names. So we're working on trying to add support for that. We have this concept of hub level site designs by allowing you to set a site design at a hub, but we're going to bring that storage so you can store site designs locally on the hub. And as part of that work, we also are working on this idea of making it easier. We all love PowerShell, we all love script files, but the time has come for us to really think about giving you guys a UI to make it a lot easier to build. So we're thinking about that. And last but not least, a top ask is pages. It's very hard to do pages, which is why it's taking us so long. So no timeline yet on that, but it's something that is definitely top of mind for us. I made it, 8 minutes. 8.
Yep, all good, all good. So let me actually share my screen. Just a one note which I wanted to pinpoint on top of what Melissa is telling there. One of the key features of the site, you can actually set a default site design to be applied on any site collection which is getting created. So super important thing to realize that it's possible. So because that means that anytime, anywhere in this SharePoint Online, a site collection is getting created, your default site design is getting applied as well. Right, Melissa?
Yes.
So it's not just about the UI when you create a new site collection using the UI. It's also when you create an API or when the site is getting created, when you create a new teams, and this way you can then automate applying all of these settings properly to the site. And so super important thing to realize. So should be fine. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Julie. Really great demos. We always run out of time because there's so much to talk about these things. And let's see, whenever there's a new stuff on the learning pathways or whenever there's new stuff on the site designs and site scripts, let's get you back on the calls as well. We are closing in the holiday season. We will still have a SharePoint Framework community call on next Thursday. We have actually 3 demos scheduled up for that one, but then the 26th of December call will be cancelled because majority of the, well, Europe and US and Canada at least are on Christmas holidays and public holidays. So no point actually keeping the call because we wouldn't have that many people joining. So the next SharePoint General Dev community call is on 9th of January. So that should be fine. But again, SharePoint Framework next Thursday as the final call of the decade, which is actually interesting. Wild, isn't it? But that's it for now. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for your input. Thank you for awesome discussion on the chat. We know, but thank you everybody. And if you don't join us next week, have a great holiday break if you have a chance to take some time off. Bye-bye.